AS, speech-to-text captioning. This automated resource has been a wonderful addition to the options for accommodations for students with hearing loss in the classroom. And as we know, there are increasing number of our students with hearing loss who are really being educated totally in the mainstream classroom. And because hearing devices do not restore normal hearing, they just don't. So our students continue to struggle with not being able to hear completely everything that the teacher says, even when they're wearing great hearing aids, even when they're wearing our expensive FM devices, they just do not restore normal hearing. And as you probably know, at the end of 2014, the U.S. Departments of Justice and U.S. Departments of Education clarified that under the ADA, schools must ensure that the communication of students with hearing loss is as effective as it is for their hearing peers. This is a tall order, especially since we know that hearing devices do not restore this communication to effectiveness equal to class peers. So if not, then this gap must be filled in by auxiliary support such as technology along with services. Those must be made available to our students. So whether Interact AS is used as a primary accommodation, meaning if you use it for captioning the teacher instruction, or if it's used to capture teacher instruction but mainly used as class notes, or it can also be used as a secondary accommodation in addition to the primary accommodation of an FM system. Or it can even be used as a speech generation device for that deaf student who doesn't speak or who really isn't comfortable speaking. The important consideration is making communication in the classroom as accessible as possible for our students with hearing loss. So just like any other accommodation, we're not saying that this one is perfect for every student because no accommodation is. What it looks like in the classroom, typically the student takes this device, their media device, along with the receiver and the teacher transmitter to classrooms, just like they do if they're an FM user. They already take that teacher microphone. It's going to be the same thing. Drop it on the teacher's desk. They're going to sit in the classroom. They're going to open their media device, find the account applicable to that teacher on their computer, and they're going to go ahead and watch those captions come in from that teacher's voice. It's going to be most accurate when the teacher wears it close to their mouth. The teachers who let the microphone drift closer to their chin or pointed towards their neck, sorry, the accuracy is going to drop just by how that microphone is pointed. So that's going to take some commitment and some really awareness by that teacher or those teachers, and also some advocacy by that student sometime. And the teachers need to be articulate. Their speech needs to be not very cluttered. They need to be taking pauses. We have excellent teachers out there, and most of the time that teaching voice is very appropriate to high accuracy when this system is used. So I would guess many of you have one or more specific students in mind today, and you're wanting to get answers to your questions like, how does this work? How does Interact AS really work? And how accurate is it? And will it be suitable for my students? And then finally, what's it going to take for us to give it a try and get Interact AS up and running in our school? So I am very, very pleased to be partnering with Robert Palmquist from Auditory Sciences. And Rob is the developer of the Interact AS speech-to-text translation software system. So he is the best guy to do a demo for you and really dig into the how-tos when it comes to Interact AS. So Rob, take it away. Tell us all about it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Karen, and Happy New Year, everyone. I guess I can still say that. We're in January here. And yeah, let's jump right into this. And we're going to be giving live demos. I will show a few slides here, but promise we won't just bore you with PowerPoint slides. Things are a lot more exciting when you are giving live demos versus something just recorded. Let's see, just some very simple items here. We certainly love questions. It's probably too big of an audience. Actually, it is way too big of an audience here to open up everybody's microphone and just get too noisy. But please do type us questions. We'll love to get those. Certainly we want to get all your questions answered. If at the end of the webinar some of your questions do not get answered, I'll stick around. And so I can stick around as long as you'd like after the webinar to make sure that all your questions do indeed get answered. What will we be covering today? First, we'll start off with a bit of background on Interact AS, where it came from, who funded it, that sort of thing. And then we'll get into live demonstrations of Interact AS, Interact Streamer, and depending on time, maybe a new item called the Favorites List Converter. Lots of stuff here. Certainly we want to get into recommended approaches for using Interact AS in classrooms. That's what most of you are here for, is specifically the use of these systems in classroom settings. So we're going to focus on that. And if you want additional information, say in an office building or warehouse workers or a church setting, something like that, let us know. And certainly we can talk with you offline and get your questions answered. And as Karen mentioned, we're going to show you how you can get a 30-day trial of Interact AS going. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and we're going to start with a bit of background on Interact AS. This will be very short, but I do like giving credit to the U.S. Marine Corps that really made this happen. The amount of Marines coming back from in-theater operations with hearing loss is absolutely staggering. Absolutely staggering. A 15-second blast of machine gun fire right next to your ear can result in a lifetime of permanent hearing loss. So the U.S. Marine Corps and the Office of Naval Research is very interested in supporting the wounded warriors, and they contacted us as a result of us previously working with them on language translation systems and said, hey, can we do something to create a better product to support our wounded warriors? And so that's where predominantly the funding for this came from. That's where Interact AS came to be. And again, we're very appreciative of the U.S. Marine Corps and very honored to be working with their Wounded Warrior program and being able to better support those soldiers. Kind of bragging here, I guess, a little bit, but we were winner of the 2016 Techni Award for Best Education Technology Product, and so that's kind of neat. I'm going to jump through a lot of these slides here just because we have so much to do. Again, we started out working with Marine Corps and language translation, got into the intelligence side, and then the Wounded Warrior program. And that really is meaningful for us, and that's where it came from. The product has been around a while, though, and certainly we've gone through many iterations. I just was looking at that. We've released a little over 13,000 updates to the code right now, and a brand new release coming out finally this week after much delays, but we're excited by that. Version 6.0 is coming out, so a major release. But certainly we've been around a while, and it's a bit of an eye chart, but lots of groups have taken the time to evaluate our systems, and we certainly appreciate that. Down here at about the 5 o'clock position is the one we kind of like around here, where CNET Magazine, if you're familiar with any sort of tech products, you're probably very familiar with CNET and all their reviews. But they called us the Star Trek Universal Translator, and we're kind of geeks around here, so we sort of like that. It's kind of a neat quote for them to do. Certainly, Interact AS can caption multiple forms of speech. We get asked this quite a bit, how it can be used. And for example, oh boy, at the end of December, I gave a radio broadcast. So somebody was interviewing me on their radio, and that's the first time I think that we've ever captioned a complete radio broadcast using automated software. First time that's ever been done, using purely automated software. So it's kind of neat that we're able to do that and have a 2-hour interview and caption what was being said on the radio. Also, built into Interact AS is speech and sound generation. So if you have a student who is nonverbal, perhaps autism or Asperger's syndrome, or just uncomfortable speaking or unable to speak in class, built into this software is the ability to rapidly generate phrases. Very different approach than Proloco or various other symbol-based systems out there. This is designed for verbose, very high vocabulary, and being able to rapidly say whatever you want to say. And so certainly very different. I'm not going to get into that during this webinar, but certainly if you would like to see what we're doing, if you have a student who is uncomfortable or unable to speak in class, let us know, and we'll certainly show you what we're doing in that area. That's built directly into the software, so that is not some option that you have to add you know, to your price tag or something like that. The speech generation side is completely built in. Lots of different languages. This actually is a little bit of an outdated chart now. We've added more. But if you're dealing with a situation where, for example, a parent would prefer to speak Spanish or Russian or Korean, whatever it might be at that IEP meeting, then you can add a language module to your system. $99 gets you that ability to be able to remove the language barrier from your conversations. As I mentioned, we're very excited. It's taken longer than we wanted to, but version 6 is finally coming out with a brand new speech engine, and we're excited by that. Significantly improved accuracy and significantly reduced voice training. We used to take about 6 minutes to set up a new user account with voice training, and it's reduced roughly to 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, but very short. Also very much improved performance for an untrained voice. So you do not have to have a trained voice. But again, it makes sense if you're a teacher to spend that roughly, say, a total of 30 seconds to set up that user account for yourself. Do it once and you're done. If you have, let's say, 20 systems in this on the campus that are using the system, you do not have to set up 20 user accounts. Do it once and it's going to appear on your other systems. So very minimal time investment and substantial reward for that time. As I mentioned very briefly, we do have a new converter tool for favorites lists. We probably won't get into that, but that's more dealing with the speech generation side, and then integrated streamer setup. So I'm throwing a bunch of terms at you here, but we're going to go over all these as we move forward. So again, streamer. Let's talk about this real quick, separate that from Interact-AS. Interact-AS is what generates the captioning. And as Karen mentioned, typically the student has their own laptop or tablet at their desk and they're just running Interact-AS. That's by far the most common deployment that we have within North America. If we get into other situations where, for example, you're in an all-school assembly, and so now you have 20 students in the gymnasium that each want to see the captioning, that's where Streamer comes into play. Now with Streamer, you have a single computer, again, that's generating Interact-AS, but you can stream the captioning to all these students. So every student in that assembly that wants to see the captioning could pull out an iPhone or an iPad or a Chromebook, whatever it might be. Any device that can connect to the internet would be able to view the captioning that's being generated by the Interact-AS system. With the new release, you teachers can add comments, you can download the transcript, you can send documents and pictures to the students, so it's a much more functional than just providing a captioning system. There's a lot going on with Streamer. All right, let's jump into demos, because that's what I really would like to do versus just show you a bunch of slides. I guess very quick though, one more slide. The overview of Interact, what we have at the very top is the navigation bar. So we have 5 different pages. User is where the student is going to set all their user accounts. So you'll probably have one for each teacher, plus friends, parent, media center, cafeteria worker, basketball coach, whatever it might be. You can have as many user accounts as you want. Associated with each user account then is a optimized speech recognition engine. The system does automatically tailor itself towards that person's voice. So at the very beginning, you'll read that 15 seconds worth of text. That's enough for us to get a good sense of how you pronounce the 42 phonemes that make up the American English language. But then from time on, as you're using the system, it's going to continually monitor the type of words that you're using. We use the term word groupings. So for example, a math teacher will use a different set of word groupings than a history teacher would, or a social science teacher. And what we're doing is pre-populating or biasing, if you will, the speech engine to better recognize what you're saying. And so bottom line, the more you use Interact-AS, the better it's going to become at recognizing your speech. At the very top is the most recently spoken phrase. We put that very deliberately at the top because it's very easy to find. So a student can do a quick glance and get. This is very similar to how you would see captioning on a television set, where you see the captioning, and then when the next sentence is spoken, that previous one disappears forever and the next one comes up. So this is a very easy way for a student who has just missed what you said. Maybe you turned around and were writing on the back on the whiteboard, so they can no longer at that instant see your face or your lip movement. And so they're kind of missing what you're saying, so they can quickly glance and look down. Or maybe you're walking towards the back of the room to engage some students in that back row. During those moments, that student who's hard of hearing perhaps is losing all that visual information that they like, being able to read your lips, see your body gestures, your facial expressions. And so they may just glance down and quickly get the captioning of what's being said. Down here we have the control box where you can turn captioning on and off and several other things done there. But at the very bottom, what we have is a running transcript of everything that's being said. So at the very top, you have a quick glance and get. Down at the bottom, you have a running transcript of everything that's being said. What we find when we go into focus groups is students with very moderate hearing loss are pretty much just using that top box. Students with more severe hearing loss tend to focus more on the bottom box. But either one is very easy to locate, again, at the very top or the very bottom. Very much designed to make it easy for the student to find the captioning. So let's jump out of this and let's get into live demo. So it's always kind of fun giving live demos. You never know for sure how they're going to go. That's part of the excitement. So what we have here, as I mentioned, the 5 pages: user, translate, configure, visualize, and of course a help. Right now you're seeing my user page, and I probably, I don't know, let's say I have 16 different user accounts there. And I'm going to open up one for me. And now when I go to the translate page, you're seeing what I was just showing you. At the very top, we have that box that will show the most recent captioning, and down here a running transcript. Let me go ahead and turn the microphone on. So now everything that I'm saying is being captioned. I am not reading from a script or anything like that. This is all happening in real time. I think I'll make the font a little bit easier for you to read. I can increase it as much as I want. So if you have a student that has some visual issues, they can certainly increase the font size. If you have a student that wants to see more sentences on the page, they can obviously decrease that font size. All these settings are automatically saved for the student. So whenever they make a change, that's preserved, and it will be displayed the next time they log into the system. So again, everything that I'm saying is happening in real time. It's actually happening quite a bit faster than what you're seeing it. With this webinar software, what you're seeing happens about 2 seconds after it happens on my end. So in real life, the captioning does appear much faster than what you're seeing with this webinar software. Note that the system does use context in order to determine what I'm saying. So for example, if I say something like, please write your name right now, you can see that second word is spelled differently than the 5th word in that sentence. Again, please write your name right now. Or if I say something like, I like to hunt deer on my John Deere tractor. Or perhaps, they're going over there to get their awards. So that's an example where I pronounced the same word 3 times and it was spelled very differently because each time it has a different meaning. Again, they're going over there to get their awards. So that's an example of how the captioning works. I just turned the captioning off because I want to show you some other features built into this system. So as I mentioned at the very top, you are seeing the most recently spoken sentence, and down here a running transcript of everything that's being said. Now, in addition to this transcript itself, what we have is a synchronized voice recording. Now, you as an educator can turn that off if you want, but if you're okay, if you're comfortable with leaving it on, what that allows the student to do is to highlight a portion of the transcript. So in this case, I'll just highlight this one. And I can play that back. Let me turn up the audio a little bit. I hope you can hear this. Again, they're going over there to get their awards. So I hope you could hear that, but that was my voice. So again, what's happening here is a student is able to, at home, be able to highlight a portion of the transcript and then hear your actual voice. So a transcript does not measure inflection, whereas a transcript, an audio recording does, things like that. And there will be errors in the transcript. Both Karen and myself try to be very transparent here. We do not at any time claim that we're going to have 100% accuracy, nor does a person who is typing. And so there will be errors in the transcript. And with this audio recording, if there is an error, a student can play back that recording and be able to hear what you were saying at that particular moment. All right, let's jump into the next item that I wanted to show you, which was the ability to save the transcript. And so right now I've created the transcript. And if I come over here to the right, I hope you can see that on the far right of the screen, I have the ability to save this transcript. In this case, I'm going to save it as a, let's say, a Word document. So I can save it as a Google Doc, a text document. In this case, again, I'll save it as a Word doc. I'm going to call this January 17th webinar. Now, the student in the class would be saving this as the name of the class period, that sort of thing. But again, I'm just going to call this January 17th webinar. And now if I go out to my desktop, I should be able to find that. And let's go see it. There it is right at the top. Word file, and that's going to open up here in a second. And so again, you can save the transcript in a variety of formats. In this particular case, where I saved it as a Word file, and there it is. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Pull it up a bit. Okay. So what you have here is a transcript of everything that I was recently saying. And again, different formats that I can save this. You could edit this. You could do whatever you want with that particular transcript. So instant transcript, you do not have to wait for some cart service or something to get that back to you, 3 days later or something along those lines. Here we provide instant transcripts, instant audio recording, and all the above. Let's see. Let's get back over to the slides then, and we're going to step through the way that it is typically deployed within within school environments. Let's jump back down here. All right. There we go. Recommended approaches for using Interact AS. So, as we mentioned earlier, by far the most common deployment approach is for a student to have the tablet or laptop sitting on their desk. That's within North America, I should say. Over in the Middle East and now moving a little bit into Australia and such, it's becoming very common to display the captioning in the front of the room. So certainly you could do that, but that's dealing more with language translation issues. India and Pakistan, for example, tend to equip every classroom with this software, and when they walk into the classroom, then the students are able to see a captioning in whatever language they prefer. But again, within US and Canada, by far the most common deployment is to have the tablet sitting at the desk. Recommended specifications for your tablet. So Windows operating system, we really prefer 10 these days, but we'll run on something as old as Vista. An Intel i7 is really preferred with this new release, and we would like to have 8 gigabytes or more of RAM. And so it is a, there's no way cutting around this. We absolutely hammer a processor in order to do all the mathematical calculations that we do. So getting a fast computer is important. The faster the computer, the more accurate the transcriptions will be. Again, that's not exactly intuitive. People would think faster computer means the captions appear faster. But the reality is, the faster the computer, the broader the search we can do in our algorithms, and the better the transcription is going to be. The price tag for buying a Windows 10 computer with an i7 and 8 gigabytes of RAM, low end, which means probably big bulky computer, is about $650. $800 would be probably a more realistic budget. And if you're buying a tablet, something like a Microsoft Windows Surface Pro, it's going to be a little more north of that. So you're getting into the low $1,000 for that. But $650 will certainly get you a laptop that meets those specs. Now, in addition to the computer, we also want you to use a wireless FM microphone system. So there's 6 different microphone systems that we offer at Auditory Sciences, but the typical classroom setup by far is using this wireless FM system that we offer. The total cost for the system is $349, so about 1/5 the price of a Phonak or Oticon system, but certainly much higher fidelity than those systems. In this case, higher fidelity, lower price point, and I don't mean to knock Phonak or Oticon. They make great product, but it was not designed with speech recognition in mind, whereas this system very much is. So we need that higher fidelity. Our system operates on a total different frequency. There's no issues in terms of it conflicting with what's happening in with Phonak or any other system. If you want, you can also buy an additional 5 headsets for $196. So when you purchase the software, if you purchase a wireless system and you add those 5 additional headsets, that's going to give you a total of 7 headsets, and that seems to be sort of the magic number for getting through the day for students. Streamer, as I mentioned earlier, is captioned from Interact AS, and it's streamed to the student's device. And so if we go back over to Interact AS, I'll turn this back on again. Again, what you're seeing is a captioning of what I'm saying. This is being generated on this particular laptop. If I had an iPhone or an Android, I could view the captioning on that using the streamer software. So I pulled over another window here that kind of shows you how that works. So I know that window is a little bit hard to see, but what you can see at the very bottom there is a captioning of what I'm saying. Again, it's being generated on my Windows computer, and it's being pushed out to the Internet. So any device that can connect to the Internet will be able to see the captioning. An example would be the all-school assembly, or perhaps morning announcements. If you have a situation in your school where a student needs to see a captioning of those morning announcements, they can do that using this software. All right, I'm going to turn that off again and head back over to the slides. And so again, very powerful in terms of being able to really broaden out captioning in various situations. Additional options, we're getting more and more requests for flipped classrooms. And so what I mean by that is where the students are watching a video at home and then coming to school to do the homework. If you're in that type of scenario, certainly you can use this software to generate a captioning of those pre-recorded or live classroom lectures. Certainly in small group discussions, you can use a handheld microphone that can be passed around, and that will work with Interact AS. And likewise with homebound students. If you have a student that needs captioning that for a while anyways is at home, you can combine Skype with Streamer to let that student see a captioning of what's being said in the classroom. In addition to that, I just wanted to briefly get this mentioned, is that Mike Messine at Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss has put together 10 short videos that go through a really nice steps of how to use Interact AS. So he starts out with a very brief introduction and then talks in video 2 about how he got involved in this whole process. And then videos 3 through 10, he's going into more details, getting you started to some really advanced features. Each of these are probably 5 minutes long. And so some very nice resources if you're going to be deploying Interact AS in your classroom setting. Again, I'm going to push it back over to the website here for Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss. Lots of information here, and I'm going to pull this over right now. You can see the link there is fairly long. You're not going to be able to type that up, but what we're going to do is get you a copy of these slides and make sure that you get all the information that I've been presenting here. So please do go to this website, and I'm going to pull it up here. Hope you can see that. The address again, successforkidswithhearingloss.com. All one word, successforkidswithhearingloss.com. And what you're going to see when you come to that website is lots of really nice resources that you can use for supporting, obviously, children with hearing loss. Lots of tools, lots of reference materials, and I'm going to jump down here to the Interact AS one. Let me scroll down the screen a little bit. Conference coming up, so I do want to mention that. But Interact AS down here, we have lots of different features on purchasing Interact AS, getting a trial, summary of key points, or various forms that you can go through, checklists to see if your student is a good candidate for this particular software. And so I'll click on the trial version here. But we do strongly encourage you to first do a trial. Try before you buy. That's definitely encouraged by everyone here because we want to make sure it's a good fit before you make that actual investment and start using the software.
I really wanted to wanted to jump in, Rob, and say that Interact AS, it's not meant to be an out-of-the-box type of system. And really, in order to achieve the best accuracy, we truly want you to be working with Mike Massini here at Supporting Success to go over and help you optimize that installation and that microphone and make sure you get off on the right foot in working with your student. And it's going to be most successful when you have a student who is interested in technology, is kind of excited about the idea of doing this. Obviously, we're often working with teenagers, and if they don't want to do this, it doesn't matter how good it is and what a great job it does. Very few of them are going to be won over. And so initially when you get it set up, you're probably going to want that student and, say, the teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing to work together some so that he understands what to expect from the software, how to get it going, that sort of thing. She'll probably want to do some pre-testing. For example, how well is he able to comprehend what is said just by listening and then by listening with the captioning, and what's it look like to start off with. And then once you move it into the classroom, it's really recommended you start off with that one teacher, hopefully the student has, that really likes technology and likes to try new things. That's a great place to start, and you'd work with that teacher and have the student work with them and give that first chance in the classroom a really strong start. And then once you find some success there, then have the other teachers try it. And it might be that the student feels he does not need to have captioning in every single classroom. And that's kind of a nice thing about this too. It's not like you're paying for a full-time captionist who will just take an hour off while the kid's in PE. Here, he can use it part of the day, he can use it all day, he can use it all class or just part of a class. It's very flexible in how it can be used. So we really would like you to take advantage of the trial period. That's where we get the most success, especially if you work with Mike Massini from our team and have a contact person so that we can get it going with you in a very successful manner. So I just wanted to say my 2 cents worth here, and most people
That's great. Yeah.
You start off with a trial period and give it a try. It doesn't work with every student, but it might work for another student, if not that one you're trying it with this time.
Yeah, and so great points. Thank you, Karen. And so again, sort of following back in with the total budget here, so you kind of know what you're getting into before you start your trial, is that we do have the software, Interact AS Professional System. And so this is for a permanent, unlimited use, fully transferable license. And so we mean permanent in the broadest sense of the word. If you are re-imaging your computers every summer, you still have the license. If computer breaks, you still have the license. If a student transfers out of the district, you can also transfer the license. Totally up to you. It is very much in the broadest sense a permanent license when you do make that purchase. The microphone, our recommended microphone, is $349, and for an additional $196, you'll get a total of 7 headsets. Why would you want 7? And the answer is, I don't know a nice way of saying this, but people in general don't like sharing headsets. It's a lot nicer if you have your own personal headset and you're not putting one on, if you're a 7th hour teacher that 6 other teachers have worn previously that day. Plus, carrying a headset is a little bit bulky for a student to do that from class to class. And so we've made it so we think it's quite affordable to have a personalized headset for each teacher throughout the day. The computer we mentioned, 650 minimum, 850 is a reasonable budget. Certainly you could go above that. But there's kind of your total cost, assuming you don't already have a laptop or tablet, for your system. And so, you know, a fraction of the price if you're hiring a transcriptionist to do that, and then no scheduling, things like that. This you can use anywhere, anytime. But certainly much lower cost than anything else. Signing up for a 30-day trial. Again, we're emphasizing this pretty hard because we think it is important. We want you to go through a trial before you spend those valuable dollars on something. So the trial comes with two different options. In your case, as a classroom educator, you're going to want the wireless FM system. So it's $99 for that trial, plus a $300 return deposit on the microphone. Sorry about that, but we were having a lot of difficulty getting people to return the microphones. And so we, at the end of the day, decided we just have to collect a return deposit. You can run that trial for that dollar amount. You can run the trial on as many computers as you like. So you're not paying a separate price for each computer. So you can put it on your personal one, the students, the parents, bring it to church with you, whatever you would like. You can install that trial on as many computers as you like for that one single price. Plus, you can keep the microphone system, that wireless microphone, for 45 days. And that's 45 days at your facility. So from the day it arrives to the day you potentially ship it back. You don't have to worry about mail transit time. You do get unlimited tech support, and so as Karen mentioned, we really want you to use that. This is not advertised as just when you get it that day, install it and go. We want to spend a good 30 minutes with you, stepping you through the software, showing you how it works, giving you some tips on getting best performance of it. And again, that's included in your trial and in your purchase. And again, plan on at least 30 minutes for us to do that, to step through with that. To sign up for a trial, again, go to the website, and we're going to jump back to that website in a moment here. Success for Children with Hearing Loss. And we're going to get you a copy of these slides, so you don't have to try and write down all this information. It will come in an email to you after this video, after this webinar. So again, viewing the video tutorials, the contact numbers, and then the email address is listed here.
Okay. I just wanted to jump in too, sorry about that, Rob, and say that some of the students you're probably interested in are already wearing FM systems, and this system can work with the FM system. It can be in addition to the FM system. There's a whole page on the website that talks about setup options and computer requirements. So the setup options can, there's some nice visuals that help to help you understand the different options for how this can be used with an FM or by itself. Sometimes the teachers wear two microphones. Sometimes this microphone, the Interact AS microphone, can replace the personal FM microphone, and you can save some money that way, especially if a child has a Bluetooth or streaming option on his personal amplification. So there's some options, and this is again where Mike Massini can help you step through what would work best for you. There's a way on our purchasing page, there's a way you can download a page to request a quote from him, and that will help you, just by answering the questions, help delineate what kind of implementation of the system is probably going to work best for your student in your situation, and so that Mike can help you work with that specifically. So there's options here. It's meant to be flexible, but I also wanted to stress it's very much like an FM system. It's going to be, the microphone must be used appropriately by that teacher for that captioning to be accurate, or just like an FM, for that signal to be strong and clear. So as long as people understand that, that's really a good first starting place for being able to explain the system to teachers. So I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this webinar, and thanks so much, Rob. You always do an excellent job of stepping us through and
Well, thank you.
demonstrating it. And please go ahead, feel free to look at what's on the website, and as Rob said, you're going to get a copy of the slides, and there's information there on how to contact Mike Massini, and if you're interested, let's get going. I really appreciate the time you spent with us today, and are there any questions that came in, Rob, that you want to just spend a second answering?
Yeah, I can. And so again, permanent license, and so some questions about that. And yes, specifically people are asking, can you transfer that license to other computers? And the answer is yes. And so if on day one you install it on a computer, and then I don't know, 6 months later you get a faster computer, you can transfer that license. With the new version that just got released, version 6, you can do that as much as you want to. In the past, you had to contact us, and we would reinitialize your license key, that sort of thing. Now, with the new licensing software, you uninstall it from the first computer, and that automatically reactivates your license, and so you can go ahead and install that on your second computer and do that as often and as many times as you like. Each time it takes probably a good 15 minutes to install, so it's not this is a big program. This is a little over 3 gigabytes now in size, not megabytes, but gigabytes. But yes, it is a very...
It's not like you can just install it on Monday for Tommy and then install it on a different computer for Sammy the next day, and that is not what this feature's meant for. No, okay.
No, but certainly if your computer breaks or if you get an upgrade or student transfers, you can certainly do that. There is no, several questions here about cost. And so there is no per minute fee or subscription fee or anything like that. It is a permanent license, and once you get that license, you can use it as much as you want, anytime. So a question here about internet. You do not need internet access in order to use Interact AS. And again, by far, that's the most common situation in Canada and the United States, where the student has that laptop or desktop at their desk. In that configuration, you do not need any internet access whatsoever. The software is running locally right on that student's device. If you're using Streamer, and so again, taking the captioning from Interact AS and streaming that captioning to multiple devices, for example, at All School Assembly, then in that setting, yes, you do need internet connectivity for Streamer to work. Interact AS can be used anywhere, anytime, without any access to the internet whatsoever. Let's see, how does the alternative language work? Let's see, I can probably, I won't load it here, but basically what's happening is when you have English, Spanish, or something like that, one of these boxes is displaying the English, and the other one down here would be displaying the translation of that. It is all simultaneous and synchronized, meaning I do not have to wait for a translation to be spoken. It just translates as I'm speaking. So, for example, if you were in an IEP meeting and you're saying something in English, like I am saying right now, that family member that would prefer to hear it in Spanish will hear it in real time without me having to pause and wait for the translations to occur. It's really a nice system, actually. And so if you have the need for language translation, contact us, and we'll make sure that that gets included with your trial. No extra cost here for including that with your trial, and we'll be able to show you how that works. Let's see. Some other questions here. The pricing is essentially per student. That's correct. And so we gave you that budget breakdown, and that would be per student. If you're buying systems for 5 or more students, then you get a pretty substantial discount. I believe it's 20%. And if you're buying 10 or more license, you're going to get a 25% discount. Now that's on the software, not the hardware. So again, in my mind anyways, that's pretty substantial discounts for a low quantity of product. And so definitely there are discounts available. if, for example, you're buying systems through a co-op or something like that. That would be a great way to be able to do that. Let's see, some other questions. Yes, for trial, all the budget that you spend on a trial is fully applied to your purchase. And so if you spend $99 on the trial, you will get $99 off the permanent license. Mm-hmm. So there is no real reason other than maybe saving some paperwork to not do a trial. Again, we strongly encourage doing trials because we want to make sure this is a good fit for your situation, for your students, and for the teachers using it. And so yes, you do get full credit for whatever you spend on that trial. That will go towards the actual purchase amount once you do that. Let's see, some questions about delivery time. Once the trial is ordered, how long does it take? So you can download the software immediately, but we're going to ship you out a wireless microphone system, so that typically takes 2 days, 3 days, depending on where you are located. If you're up in Canada or overseas, it obviously will take longer. Any order placed in the morning will get shipped that afternoon, so it is pretty rapid. Karen?
Yeah, well, the order comes into supporting success, and then we forward it to Rob, and he follows through very quickly. So I would say at most it's going to be a 3-day delay between the time you order and when you actually get what you need if you're in the U.S. So that's a pretty quick turnaround time. And I wanted to step back and talk a bit more about the trial period. When we talk about 30 days with the software, it is calendar days. And those days, go ahead and click on, even if there is vacation days there. So it's probably not something you want to do in terms of a trial the same month that you have spring break, for example, because your 30 days will encompass that spring break, and it's just going to be a time period when their student is not going to be able to use that.
Let me jump in real quick here, Karen. Because our new software, and you don't even know this, Karen.
Oh, well.
I didn't even know it until last week. But we can take care of that now.
Oh.
And so if you have spring break or Christmas break, contact us, and we can easily extend your trial. And that's a brand new feature that we haven't had, that lots of people have been requesting. So applause, break out the champagne.
Yeah, that's
with
fabulous.
The new. Yes, with the new software, we can easily accommodate. So we're going to try and give you 30 days where you're actually in school, versus holiday breaks or spring break or something like that.
Right, but the 30 days does include weekends. So
yes, 30 days including weekends. But,
but
yes, we do have the ability now to easily let you extend your trial, and that's something we've talked about wishing we had for, I don't know, years.
Yes. So that's great.
Yes, so that has become available now with the new release. And it took a lot of effort, actually, but it's nice to have that out there and working. I think that covers all the questions. There's a few more that are very specific to some individuals, and so I'll stick around and type some answers for those specific questions. Karen, you want to wrap things up?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to say if we have some educators online here that would like to have a certificate of participation for 60 minutes of continuing education, go ahead and email me, and I would be happy to send you a certificate. So it would go to Karen, K-A-R-E-N, at successforkidswithhearingloss.com. I believe my email address is probably on the end of the slides there. But certainly, I'd be happy to give you a 60-minute professional development certificate. I'm assuming you're probably going to be spending some time on the website now, getting more specific information. And again, if there's anything we can do, let us know. Don't hesitate to contact Mike Massini if you want to get a quote, get started right away. And probably tomorrow, no later than the next day, you will receive an email with the slides in it. So thanks.
I'm going to jump in here real quick just to advertise your conference that's coming up. And because this is for those of you down in the Florida area or can travel to Orlando, please do consider attending the conference. There are still slots. I see the rooms are sold out. Okay, so February 17th through 18th. If you can attend, that's a fantastic conference to be part of. And
Yep.
so sorry about that, Karen. Just wanted to get that in.
Oh, that's great. And we're using Interact AS for our captioning throughout the conference. So we're
That's
going
right.
to go ahead
Yeah.
and use it, and that's we're all excited about it. So thanks once again for your time, everyone, and don't hesitate to contact us.